The makeup was Greg's idea. He promised me it was not in protest of the media's reaction to this movie.
That's right, Murray. I'm not political.
Stop calling me Murray! Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Night at the Movies. I'm June, this is Greg, and...
Murray, I thought I asked you to introduce me as Joker.
And this is Joker, and tonight we watched Joker.
Thanks, Murray.
So, how did you like Joker? Is that what we started off with? Okay. So, how did you like Joker?
What?
How did you like the movie?
I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not joking.
It's hard to take you seriously right now.
I'm
okay.
dead ass serious. This is the third best blockbuster movie to ever come out.
Really?
After Ghostbusters and Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back.
Really?
There's literally only one flaw.
Wow.
And I could overlook it because when I told it to you, you said that it didn't happen to you. Mm-hmm. So I guess I can't really be that angry about that one flaw. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to go into spoilers to talk about that one flaw.
Yeah, this is not a spoiler-free review, by the way. This is
well, we're gonna try our best at first.
We should just do all spoilers.
No.
Who hasn't seen it yet?
Baby, lots of people, the media tells people not to see it.
It's true, or else you're gonna get
But don't say in the beginning of the video. I'm trying to monetize this channel. I say as I'm dressed up like the f***ing Joker, the most reviled character in modern history.
What happened at Party City today?
We were getting ready today. We actually bought all this makeup today.
This was a last minute thing, can you tell?
You said you were gonna spray paint your hair, by the way. I feel betrayed. We had already bought most of it and we couldn't find the hairspray, so we went to another place. Yeah, I'm not gonna say its name, it rhymes with It sounds like Schmear It Schmalloween. Clearly we were looking for something. The lady, a lady dressed in a weird steampunk costume was like, is there anything you're looking for in particular? And I said, hair color. And her demeanor immediately changed. And she's like, is there any color in particular you're looking for? And I said, green. And she doesn't say anything, not a word. She just silently turns, starts to walk away from me, and then kind of condescendingly goes like this.
Yeah, she didn't even look at us.
Just as June was meeting up with me in the hallway.
She didn't even look at us, and she walked away. That was funny.
You know why that happened. I don't need to say why that happened. You know why that happened.
She's like, this guy is a school in the making or something.
That's sort of the problem. She seemed like one of those normie types that thinks they're woke because they read liberal media.
That's judging pretty hard.
I'm fully willing to bet that that's exactly who I described.
Yeah, no, I know, yeah. But anyway.
Speaking of media.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about the bullshit surrounding this movie.
No, we're starting by talking about that.
So if you don't want to hear this,
if you just want to see our review, skip to this time frame right here. I suggest you don't, but, you know.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say.
So it all started with Vox, right? Or was it Vice?
No, they're all at the same time. The media was like, this is gonna be an incel Trump supporter movie. This is for white men. CNN posted like 4 different articles in like the span of a few days, just grasping for anything. Like, oh, this is for white men, incels, Trump supporters. Don't see it. Someone might shoot up the theater. Someone's gonna shoot up the theater. Someone might shoot up the theater. Please, someone shoot up the theater.
We almost need to like break down each thing that the media was freaking out about. For incels, for one. This is kind of funny.
Where did that come from?
It's kind of funny and ironic because one of like the things they warn you about fascism is that they need to create this enemy that everyone can rally against, an outsider that's inside. The truth is that the media does the exact same thing, except they end up creating their own enemies based on social status. And, you know, at one point it was gamergaters, at one point it was men's rights activists, and now it's incels.
Yeah.
And incels make the obvious enemy because incels, like literally involuntary celibates, they're people
Angry virgins.
They're people who identify as outsiders, people that are rejecting the system.
Or rejected by.
Are rejected by the system. That's a better way to put it. So this movie is about not ignoring the outsiders, helping them and trying to bring them back in, treating them like they're valuable members of society, like society cares about them, and not letting these soulless, institutionalized programs sort of take care of them for us. Basically, the movie argues against otherizing people and stepping over them and leaving them in the fucking ditch. And that's exactly what the media was doing, is enforcing the concept of incels, is by confirming to them that they are outsiders, confirming to them that they're rejected by society, which only feeds into their whole cult of rejection. They're, of course, not a group that's gonna fight back. Because, like, men's rights activists fought back, gamergaters fought back.
The gamers rose up.
Yeah, gamers rose up for sure. They brought up the fact that there was already a Joker shooter before.
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about. So this basically all started because in 2012 in Aurora, there was a shooting at a movie theater for the opening Dark Knight Rises?
Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, which
The Joker is
isn't
not even in that movie.
But anyway, so this guy with dyed red hair shot up the theater, and the media, things got twisted, and they said he was dressed up like the Joker. He wasn't. And even
the prosecutor in the case, the person trying to put the shooter in jail, acknowledged that it had nothing to do with Joker.
Even the shooter said it didn't matter what movie it was just an opening night.
And it was like the biggest opening night in years.
So it had nothing to do with the Joker at all. Yet it's still known as the Joker shooting, and
you know why? Because that's how the media reported it, and because the media sees themselves as the center of the universe, because they reported it was the Joker, then it must be so. It is known. It is known, Khaleesi. It is the Joker shooter.
yeah, yet they kept fear-mongering. All these different articles fear-mongering people to not see this movie, basically.
My main problem with that is, I actually mentioned this in my mass shooter video about Donald Trump. The media's reporting on mass shooting and the way that they treat mass shootings is part of the problem. They actually help create the environment and the tone within our society by forming these narratives, and they end up heroicizing these shooters, making them these big names, plastering their faces everywhere. It seemed like in this case, because there wasn't even a shooter, there was just like rumors that there might be, rumors created by them, by the way. It was as if they were trying to manifest a shooter. They were literally trying to encourage a fucking shooter to come to a theater and do exactly that. And when it didn't happen, they acted like almost butthurt, like it should have happened.
So the media was like, don't go, you're gonna get shot, you're gonna get shot, don't go, don't go. And then when nothing happened, like you said, they started doubling down. And then all these takes started coming out, like CNN was like, okay, but there was a song written by a pedophile in it. So, I'm not kidding. That's one of the articles CNN. So CNN kept publishing, incel movie, white male movie. And then once it came out and everyone actually watched it, they were like, okay, yeah, but there's a pedophile song. It's like, wow.
And that's not the first time the narrative
reach.
changed when things ended up getting debunked. Whatever crazy shit they came up with to try to scare you away from watching this film, once all that was debunked when the film came out and reviewers were like, hey, none of that's actually in the film, there was a lot of those people that then changed the narrative to, do we still need to talk about comic book movies? Aren't we done talking about comic book movies?
You don't want to talk about class and mental illness? I'm sorry.
And that's the amazing thing, is like, how many people that pretend to give a fuck about mental illness and give a fuck about the poor and people who are left on the margins and left on the outside. You're handcrafted this perfect film that entirely agrees with that. That's the movie you say that we don't need to talk about
It's
anymore?
really funny that like all the leftists that I follow, like genuine leftists, love this movie. They think it's amazing. Like they think it's the best thing. All their avatars are Joker and they are dressing like Joker and like all this shit. Like they love the movie. And then you go to like the right-wingers I follow and they're like, the left hates this movie. Why does the left hate this movie? Like, I don't think the left hates this movie. I think like these milquetoast-ass, identity politic obsessed woke types
It's the fake woke, think I'm woke because I watch liberal media people. Let's be honest, who it is that doesn't want us to see
the
this movie.
SJWs.
The establishment media and their interests. The actual 1%.
Calm down.
I'm dead
Oh my
serious.
god, okay, calm down. We need to calm down.
Because this movie isn't anti-left, and it sure as fuck ain't pro-right. It's definitely a left-leaning film. Big, big, big time. So you'd think the left-leaning media would eat this shit up. So yeah, obviously they treated Joaquin Phoenix like shit for not being able to answer a question about how you can relate the Joker to the current environment of white terrorism that we're now experiencing. And I can see why that normie at the costume store was worried, because she's thinking that by doing this, I'm helping this angry white boy culture. This is a thing that she believes because this is a thing the media is telling her is true. So again, there's a bunch of reality manipulation around this film. They started spinning stories about what kind of things that the movie will enforce, what kind of things it will reinforce, what kind of things it will encourage.
It's gonna be a right-wing movie, guys.
So they, of course, because the media is vastly left-wing. Well, I mean, there's very few major right-wing outlets other than Fox News. There's not a ton that get wide exposure. So the right was using this as like an example of like, oh, look at the left, how they're freaking out, you know, we better go support this movie and show them like there's nothing wrong with it. And then you get right-wing people that are sort of like manipulating what the message is.
So this article came out after the movie was out. Gender, race, and ableism in Joker. And it's about how it doesn't matter that Joker is poor and mentally ill because he's white. And it's a white people movie, and Joker is entitled because he's white. As a lower class white person, he feels entitled to not be lower class. Yeah. So it turned into right-wing movie, oh shit, it's about class? Oh shit, it's about mental illness? He's white though. Oh my fucking god.
Yeah, so what the media would have you believe is that by going to this movie, by supporting this movie, and by absorbing this movie into your brain, you're going to be indoctrinated into this culture of white privilege and white entitlement, and maybe you will feel like picking up an arm one day. So when people started going to this movie expecting like, oh, this is the part where, nope, it didn't happen. Joker, for most of the movie, ends up being a voice of reason against a backdrop of chaos. He even excuses people for beating him up and essentially getting him to lose his job in the long run. And he says, oh, they were just kids. For most of the movie, Joker is trying to calm people down and trying to make people happy and trying to make people laugh. He's trying to be a spot of joy in the world. And the movie is about how somebody on the bottom with mental illness, somebody that's been left in the ditch by themselves and people are walking over him as he's dying alone, is being completely ignored, while people who are like arguably terrible, but because they're rich, deserve all this public praise, how they end up getting lifted up when bad things happen to them, and how it's a bad idea to ignore the mentally ill, how it's a bad idea to ignore people who are struggling.
How it's a bad idea to cut off social programs and not help people when they need health care.
The main theme of the film is how the system, how the institutions, how the rich, how the government,
society in general,
even the media doesn't give a fuck about the people that are on the bottom, and how ignoring those people on the bottom, especially those with mental illnesses, eventually some of them might pick up a gun and point it at a rich person and kill them, or point it at somebody that doesn't necessarily directly deserve it. Well, no fucking wonder CNN and the mainstream media didn't want us to watch this movie, because that is exactly what's happening right now. The mentally ill are getting their hands on guns. The mentally ill who are becoming ever more distraught in our ever more chaotic world. And the mainstream media in the film directly contributes to this by creating the narrative of this anti-rich movement, of this clown killer who hates the rich. And then they spread that everywhere across the city. What do you think that does to a society, especially in a ghetto where there's a bunch of people in need, a bunch of people on the bottom, people struggling? Some of them are gonna rise up, which is what happens in the film. And the media knows this, and they know that they contribute to this. And this movie literally speaks out against them and also the rich assholes that own the media, who the media runs cover for constantly.
I feel like obviously this movie is about class, it's about mental illness, it's about isolation, it's about a lot of shit like that. Society, and
it's about why we should be voting for Bernie Sanders. Oh, didn't anybody tell you I'm pro Bernie now?
You didn't tell me! I love this man. I'm gonna cry. Yes, but also, the movie kind of acted like a Rorschach test to a lot of people, because I don't think it was a left-right thing. I think it's just a rich, poor, mentally ill asshole thing.
Politics is a main theme in this film. Politics is a major factor in this film.
But not the main character.
But political parties, political leanings, that never comes up. It's literally just a haves versus have-nots. And the way that the haves treat the have-nots, and how that relationship actually contributes to greater chaos within society.
Like at one point, of course we're gonna bring this up as we talk about the movie, but Wayne, what's his name?
Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne, Batman's dad, goes on TV and he's giving a speech about the murders or whatever.
Yeah, this is right after the murder happens. We haven't seen a single other clown other than the Joker at this point.
Thomas Wayne goes on TV and he's like, oh, you know, the people who are jealous of the rich people, like, because we made it and they didn't, they'll always be clowns to us.
To those of us who made it, people like that will always be clowns.
And the first thing my mind went to was Hillary Clinton calling people deplorables. And a lot of people saw Thomas Wayne as Trump, but I see him as, like, every neocon, neoliberal establishment president or leader.
I can see why people tried to make the connection between him and Trump, because Trump did the same thing as what Wayne says he's doing. Wayne says he's going to help bring those people up. The difference was that Thomas Wayne spoke down to the lower class, called them clowns, said, what's wrong with these people? Don't they understand that I'm the one that's going to lift them up? Trump never condescended the working class. He went down to their level and said, hey, I'm just like you, I'm gonna help lift you up so that, you know, all of America can prosper.
And meanwhile, Hillary was like, America's already great, Trump. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
America's great because America's good. Nobody struggling wants to hear America's already great. They want to hear, we're gonna help you, you dumbass. That is what
it was like Hillary Clinton's never been to Detroit. Eventually, because the media is spreading the clown image and the idea of this anti-rich movement being represented by this clown face, and then Thomas Wayne immediately reinforcing that on the news the next day, saying all these people are clowns. It was not that people saw Joker as a clown kill Wall Street people that did it. What made the clown movement happen was the media and Thomas Wayne. The media could have reported on that incident in any way.
Yeah, but they decided to go...
They decided to make the connection.
Yeah, because Joker killed those guys not because they were rich, he killed them because they were beating the shit out of him. And of course it's excessive, you don't just fucking kill people.
The media chose to make it a class thing.
Yeah, it was self-defense. an overload, but it was self-defense. They were like, oh, they killing the rich, there's a clown uprising. Oh, there's poor people killing the rich now. The Joker wasn't a political guy, but he accidentally started like a big movement.
So this is a perfect example of how the media's spin on reality and how the narratives that they create directly contribute to the way that people react. So when Hillary Clinton said, oh, I see all these Trump supporters as deplorables, guess what happened? People took ownership of that title, started to call themselves deplorables. My theory is that the media created this hysteria against the film because they didn't want us to see how perfectly it parallels our modern society. Again, dead ass. I'm not joking. This is probably the most important film to our current condition in the Western world.
Well, that's just because you're a white man, Gregory.
Joker
That's
could have been
just
literally
because-
any color. So that's
I'm
the other.
kidding.
No. I know that's a perfect segue because that's the third thing I wanted
Yeah.
to talk about is how this isn't a race thing. I lost count of all the articles and videos
Yeah.
and tweets that I saw from blue check marks of people trying to make it seem like this is about white entitlement. This spits in the face of the needs of minorities. No. Yes, the Joker is a white character. I mean, we're living in an era where every movie that comes out has to be related to an existing IP, otherwise people won't come. But the film is not about white people, it's literally about the lower class. Anyone on the bottom, anyone who's living in the ghetto that doesn't want to be living in the ghetto. People who are mentally disabled, mentally ill, people who are forgotten in society. The army that rises up with Joker is not
Black,
just white people.
brown, everybody.
That's life. That's what all the people say.
So this film is kind of like a Rorschach test to a lot of people because everyone's seeing something different about it. I see it as, mental illness and class struggle and stuff like that.
I think people are choosing to see different things in it. I see a lot of people being dishonest, disingenuous, and also playing the reality manipulation game that the media is playing to make this movie fit their own personal agenda. I'm seeing right-wingers like Dave Rubin.
Dave Rubin is a classical liberal, okay? Classical liberal. Tired
Anyway.
of your bullshit.
His review was actually probably one of the worst things I've ever heard in my entire life. He says that this is just like Jordan Peterson's book. It's about fucking choosing order over chaos. That's literally the exact opposite of what fucking happens in the film.
What I'm saying is some people are seeing Joker as a villain, which he is. He's a bad guy. In the movie, he turns into a bad guy, he goes crazy. But some people are seeing him as a hero, like, yes, this is what we have to do, which, please do not. But is it saying that the left narrative is bad because Joker's the bad guy and the protesters are the bad people? It's all framed as he's the good guy because he's the villain in his own, and hero in his own story, but
Yes.
are they saying that Antifa types?
No. The mob doesn't represent Antifa. Stop fucking saying that.
Sorry.
No, not you. You know who I'm talking to. Not you,
like,
sweetheart, no.
Oh no!
No, that's another fucking thing Ruben said, is that the mob is like Antifa.
Ruben is a sweet boy.
Just because you can make connections, just like you can make a connection between Trump and Thomas Wayne.
Dave, for example, saw Joker's movement, saw him being like mentally ill and going crazy as saw him playing the victim.
Then other people are saying it's good because it's about why not to abuse your kid because they'll end up growing up to be a psychopath. Picking on little tiny elements and a few little themes here and there.
It's a big.
But this film encompasses a wide variety of themes and perfectly marries them together. And to pick out one theme and say that you like the movie because of that theme makes you a f***ing dumb asshole. The point of this film is not just any one of these themes. Joker chooses chaos over order for a specific reason. The order that exists forgets him. The order that exists has him in the margin.
It's not a pull yourself up by your bootstraps
He
movie.
chooses the chaos because chaos is better than the order because the chaos allows him some freedom.
Yeah, it's definitely not a pull yourself up by your bootstraps movie. No, it's the complete opposite. It's, yes, you need to help yourself and you need support. Like, he craved support. He imagined a girlfriend. He was craving so much support.
He was getting support from the system, which he acknowledged was bullshit because they didn't give a fuck about him, which was immediately validated because he was then told that the program was pulled and now he can't even get his medication anymore.
It was about how we need to help as a society to help people. We can't just leave them alone so they can pull themselves up from their bootstraps. Like, we need to help them, and that includes like government programs and stuff like that. And that includes good mental health facilities and stuff like that. And
mental health always comes up with mass shootings. Always.
And it's important.
Yet those people will say we need more help for mental health people. But has Trump put any money towards public programs?
No,
like
he's gonna
that?
implement Fitbit watches that monitor your mood, so he could tell if you're angry, and then the police can bash through your door and arrest you and take your guns, just in case you're going crazy. That's a real thing, by the way. Look up DARPA, I think it's what it's called, or DARPA, something. Scary ass shit. Scary as shit, but anyway.
So as we creep ever closer to 1984, like I said, I can see why there's a fear, but that's not what...
That's such a loose connection. That's so stupid.
Yeah. Oh, what was I gonna say?
You're gonna say you love me.
No.
So this movie was just like empathy overload for me.
That's what I was gonna say. So I can see why, there's a little bit of fear not from the media, because the media is stupid and they know better, but I can see why, that normie at the costume store is a little bit afraid of this, like, white shooter culture and how this film might contribute to that. Part of that is because the Joker is a villain, but you empathize for him. They give him the Maleficent treatment. They make you realize that he's more human than just some crazy psychopath who kills because he's crazy. Like, that Joker is interesting. The Joker that we don't know is interesting. The Joker that has no background and
that has different stories for his scars because he has no origin.
Like, that's the Joker we've always known. And my biggest fear going into this film was that learning Joker's origin was going to make me hate Joker. He's like a Boba Fett sort of thing. Like, the more you know about him, the worse a character he becomes. However, this film ends up making you empathize with him, and he's even the hero of the film. Even though what he does is evil and arguably he shouldn't have done it, he literally is in a position where you don't really blame him for it.
Villains are the heroes of their own story.
Right, and that's even something Joker says at the end of the film. He brings up the fact that society subjectively chooses what is right and wrong, just like society subjectively chooses what is funny and what isn't funny. Humor ends up playing not just as a theme in the film, but as an allegory for the subjectivity of the society that we live in. God, we live in a society.
We live in a society.
God, how many times?
You said it. Take a drink.
I don't want to ruin my lipstick.
Here's a drinking game for everyone at home. Drink every time Greg says society or media.
I mean, Joker is betrayed by every single thing and every single person he trusts, he depends on, he relies on, he loves. Everything betrays him.
It's really sad.
Even his friend who gave him the gun that he defended himself with, which his first killing was a self-defense. Well, I mean, the first two were self-defense.
Oh, yeah.
The third one was an execution.
He did not need to do that.
His job, his mother, his hero on TV, who he saw as his father figure. Everyone betrayed him. And the system, the institutions, betrayed him. This movie is like an argument against modernism, if I ever saw one. Basically, it shows that when somebody is literally betrayed by everything and then is brought on TV to be lambasted, and that's why he was on the TV show, that's why he was on Murray at the end, is they were fucking making fun of him. They're being nice to him. Oh, it's so nice that you're here, Joker. It's so fun. I'm so glad you're here. Ha ha ha. But honestly, he was there because he is a buffoon, which is so great that he came onto the stage in his clown makeup, because he was playing into that. He was leaning into it. Yes, I'll be your buffoon, but this is what happens when you leave somebody in the ditch and then treat him like a buffoon as he's dying. You get shot, you get what you deserve. And then that's the final line in the film before Thomas Wayne is shot in the alleyway.
Yeah,
you get
so
what you deserve.
It was almost like a copycat killer, because Joker said you get what you deserve to Maury on TV, and then somebody kills Wayne and says you get what you deserve. So that's pretty relevant, because that's a thing that happens.
And that's another reason why CNN was running cover against this film, because how many bajillionaires are there that run the mainstream media that might end up relating with Thomas Wayne in the situation, the man who literally manifested his own death. Quite ironically, by calling these people clowns, he created this clown army, who then shot and killed him.
I like the shot at the end where it's zooming out and it shows all the TV media screens talking about him, because that's what happens. Killers always get so much media attention. It's not really like a black and white thing, because even when Joker's with the social worker, and they're talking, she goes, they don't give a shit about people like you. They don't give a shit about people like me either. And that is black and white people both on the bottom.
I think that she meant like minimum wage social workers.
Oh, well that's who. So that's what I mean, just like...
Well, it's just because you're part of the system and that you're participating in the system and that you're being paid by the system doesn't mean you're not also a victim of the system. And I think that's what that meant. And also the fact that she's black, I'm sure you recognize that obviously she was dealing with some social inequity as well there too.
Yeah, it's also the 70s. So
yeah, so it was the 70s. And I mean, racism never really comes up in the film.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say.
If there's more, do you want to like clap so there's a big sound thing so you know to go to that area? You know what I'm talking about? If we go back to talking about social commentary, do you want to like...
You can just clap that ass. So June, what did you think of Joker?
I loved it. I was so disturbed. I cried a few times. I genuinely was shocked, and so were you. You covered your mouth at one point.
3 times I was genuinely shocked.
I never really left a movie feeling so like disturbed and distraught. That scene where he's on the talk show was like, it gave me chills. It was horrifying. It was good as hell. It kept my attention the entire time, which is hard to do. I was glued to my seat even though it was kind of a slow burn, which is hard, you know, for me. I just zone out.
Yeah, I could see a real basic bitch like being bored by this movie.
But like...
Blair White.
Everyone has different tastes.
Sorry, Blair. You're wrong.
But no, stop.
I'm directly calling out everyone.
Oh god, which is rare. It's a slow burn. It's a pretty slow-paced movie. But it was gripping. It was so good. You get invested into these characters. The acting was phenomenal. Probably like the best performance from...
You're just gonna review the whole movie by yourself.
Yeah, bitch. This is the June media show.
I'm just gonna let you carry my ass for the rest of this film.
Okay, fine. My leg is asleep. The shots, the cinematography, you'll get more into that because that's kind of your thing. But, oh my god, some of these shots were so beautiful. I wanted to like print out pictures of them and put them on my freaking apartment. And music was good. And I like that it was set in the 70s and it was all gross and like gross, you know what I mean?
It was both gross and gross?
This is what happens when you let me take control. Can you please take control again? Thank you.
My absolute favorite thing about this film was the tone. The tone was very unsettling, as you said. There's a lot that plays into that. A lot of slow zoom-ins, a lot of them. and they're masterful. The cinematography, I cannot undersell this. The cinematography is among the best I've seen in over a decade. They used big, fat, wide prime lenses with the aperture all the way open for most shots. And there's a lot of fun shots when he's just outside of the bus and he's leaning his head up against the window and his face is in focus, but all the road behind him is blurry. The 70s aesthetic was nice. There's only actually one other mistake in the film.
Yeah, you pointed this
So
out
there's
to me.
okay. So there's two mistakes. One of them, like, you wouldn't even notice. He's sitting outside of the hospital smoking a cigarette. The railing behind him has modern skateboarding implements. Probably the reason I love the cinematography so much is because that's how I would do it. Just the big, fat, wide, blurry shots with nice, fat, blurred out backgrounds. Like, I love that shit. I eat that shit up.
thick shots.
The score is, I mean, you don't like, there's not like a lot of musical themes, it's mostly tones, but they do use a handful of songs from the 70s and the 60s and stuff, and it fits in real nice.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say.
What are some things that you didn't like about it?
So I guess we're gonna go into spoilers now. Within the first act, they establish that the Joker retreats into his head and has like this daydreaming problem. He meets a girl and he's awkward as fuck. And she clearly is not digging it, but she smiles to be polite. This is what people do, this is what women do because they don't want to exacerbate who they see might be a, you know, an unstable person. They'll just play along and be nice to them. Joker sees this as her responding positively to him trying to make her laugh. And then it's so obvious to me that he was daydreaming dating her, because each time he would even daydream about being with her, it was an awkward experience that a woman would not have responded positively to. The first time, she's like, "Were you following me today?" And he's like, "Yeah, it was me. I thought you would rob the place. I've got a gun." You think that she would put out after that? No. It was, and then the second time, he's wearing his fucking clown makeup and it's running because he's been sweating and whatever. And he's covered in another person's blood and his own blood because he just had the shit beaten out of him. And he goes up and kisses her and she just receives it and they go into the apartment. No. Then the third time, they're at his comedy club together and then they go on a date and then they see the clown killer newspaper article and she's like, "I think the guy's a hero. Fuck him." No, either she's fucking crazy or this isn't real. And then at the end, when they finally reveal that it wasn't a real relationship, they do it in such a ham-fisted way where I felt talked down to. However, after my experience in the theater, I told this to June and she said,
I thought it was real. Because listen, I thought that they already knew each other because they live in the same apartment building. I thought they were friends. I thought it was an established thing that they were friends. I didn't pick up on it. So I thought like, oh, they're dating now. Like, that's kind of weird. But it was suspicious because like she was overly nice and he's such an awkward guy. And like, but it was like, maybe it's because I wanted it to be real because I felt so bad for him. And like when they were sitting in the hospital and she was like rubbing him and she's like, "You want coffee?" She's like, and then it turned out to be fake and I was so sad. But you were right when you said they shouldn't have done all the flashbacks showing that it was a fake relationship.
Right. And just kept it at "Your name's Arthur, you live down the hall." That would have been fine. They should have left it at that.
Yeah, one of my problems with it, a lot of things felt ham-fisted. Just like, oh, this is this. Nothing was like deep, which isn't fine, like me complaining about things not being deep, like really. But you know what I mean? Like a lot of it was literally you're hit over the head with the message of the movie, which is so funny that it's like a Rorschach test to people because like the message is so ham-fisted in your face what it's about. That's one kind of, it's a petty thing, that some things were a little too like, you know, obvious.
I actually appreciated that the film didn't try to lay too much on you because of just how many themes there were. there was such a litany of themes that if they had added too many elements to the film, then some of those themes might have gotten lost. You might have suffered from like an Avengers problem of just too many cooks.
Yeah. Here's a question. Do you think that part where he's on the taxi at the end and he rises up and everyone's cheering, do you think that was real?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it might have been in his imagination. Maybe he died.
No, because that's a thing about the Joker that's true.
I keep forgetting that this is like a comic book movie. I keep forgetting that this is Batman. I keep forgetting.
I'm glad you said that, because before the movie even started, I said I'm not excited for this just because I'm burnt out on comic book movies. I've been saying that since Civil War.
This was refreshing after all of these
because it's not a comic book
paint by
movie.
numbers,
It's not a comic book movie.
line.
There's no comic book logic. The only special effect is blood from gunshots.
Yeah.
And
It's very realistic.
Joker is just a very real person that just happens to become the Joker, which is a part of the reason why I loved that it was set back in the 70s. But this sort of brings me to why I'm going to call out Red Letter Media directly now.
Oh God.
For their Joker review was like the laziest review they've ever done. Jay was unnecessarily uncharitable.
Yeah. Apparently, the director is the same director who made the Hangover movies.
I'm so glad I didn't know that
Yeah,
going into
and
this
apparently
film.
Jay from Red Letter Media knew that. He was like, oh, Hangover movie. It's just like, oh, the Hangover movie hurt. Like, what? It was very weird.
That's not exactly what he said, but the fact that this turned out to be Todd Phillips that made this did genuinely shock me. I could not believe it. But this is just a masterful
his
film.
breakout
yes,
movie.
it's simple. Yes, there's not a lot of elements. Yes, there's not even a lot of dialogue, and the dialogue there is not, you know, the best, most hard-hitting dialogue I've ever heard in my life. But when's the last time you saw a movie that had like no mistakes in it? When's the last time you saw a movie that had a bunch of setups that were explored and then paid off, and then there's no loose ends or broken elements or missing hero's journey aspects? Like, when's the last time that happened?
A lot of people who reviewed this movie on Rotten Tomatoes, like the people who gave it a negative score, were like, it's just disturbing and gritty. It's like, that's why I liked it.
The best part is that you never feel settled.
I like that it was dark and like unsettling.
It's almost like a psychological horror.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thriller, I would
why
put
liked
it.
Yeah. Definitely had those elements.
Which is, again, very refreshing because there's not a lot of comic book movies
it's like these
that
people...
are psychological thrillers. They are all like dumb action schlock.
It was kind of, not completely, kind of like Watchmen in a way, where Watchmen's dark, but a comic book movie. This just didn't feel like a comic book movie, which is like so refreshing because there were people reviewing this like, I just wasn't feeling it. It's just like, there was like no action in it.
You know what's funny is I was like fully prepared to do a movie review of The Watchmen and talk about how it's my favorite comic book movie of all time, and then we're gonna have a discussion and like some like fake outrage about, oh my God, you like a Zack Snyder movie? I can't believe it. But like the Joker actually, the Joker is hands down now my favorite comic book movie, hands down.
What? Even above Iron Man?
No contest.
3 or whatever?
No, but Iron Man 1's the better one.
Oh, okay.
But yes, even better than Iron Man.
Wow!
Yeah. Because this movie speaks to our generation.
Well, okay. I laughed at you for relating, but I feel like everybody can relate in a way.
Well, I would hope so.
Mental illness. Sorry to call you out like that.
No, you're right.
The personification of mental illness right here, folks.
But that's the point, though, is I have a mental illness, technically.
I've been to shitty therapists who don't listen.
Exactly, and I've never been to therapy, but I know exactly what it's like. You get some social worker who's underpaid, who sees too many people in a day, who can't get invested in any of her patients, and she's just given a list of questions to ask. And she never listens, and Joker calls her out for that.
My therapist would be like, how was school? And I'd be like, I hated it. She'd be like, did you hang out with friends? I don't have friends. What'd you do all weekend? Nothing.
Right, and well, I mean, you had the privilege of being able to pay for it.
Yes.
But imagine needing to depend on it and you don't have the money. And that's how I relate to this film is, like, I've had bad days. And what if I didn't have some sort of a support network to help me? What if I didn't have a program I could go to? Like, I'm not saying that I'm like a potential threat or anything. I just wonder, like, what would happen to me if I was in that position where every single thing I depended on and loved betrayed me, and then I was left with nothing to pick me up? I would be in a pretty bad spot too. That's, I think, why the film is somewhat satisfying, because you see that exact thing happen to Joker with the backdrop of it happening to an entire, class of people in this oversized, overpopulated city. They've all been betrayed by the system, by these people who pretend to care about them, by these institutions who are taken away from them. And basically, as Joker put it in his interview with Murray, just expected not to werewolf out and pretend like nothing's wrong. Just accept the fact that you're on the bottom and that there's no way to pick yourself up. This is why the expression pick yourself up by the bootstraps exists. People dead ass use that expression thinking that it means the opposite of what it actually means. It's physically impossible to pick yourself up by your own bootstraps. That expression means there are people who can't do that cannot pick themselves up. So you end up feeling their pain. You feel Joker's pain. And you feel good for him for at least being able to do something about it. Even if it's not the thing that we would do, you feel like a catharsis to it. Finally, he's broken free from being underneath, the system's thumb.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say.
So what was your favorite part? That's something we could talk about. What was the part that stood out to you?
Honestly, this film perfectly builds up to the climax, to the point where the climax is exactly as satisfying as you want a climax of a film to be. The interview on the Murray show.
Yes, I think that was my favorite part. Obviously, that was a really good part.
I didn't expect him to shoot Murray, though.
No.
That was one of the twists that actually
There
worked
was a
for
million
me.
twists.
The way they build it up is that Joker's going to kill himself on the show to make a political statement. And he instead shoots Murray, which, legally speaking, was not the better choice. But thematically and writing-wise, yeah, definitely the better choice.
There were so many twists. The mom actually lying and being a narcissist was a twist. Wait, before that, him finding out that he's related to Thomas Wayne, he's his son, but then it turns out that his mom was lying.
A twist and then a double twist.
Double twist. What a twist. M. Night Shyamalan is shaking. The scene where he meets Bruce Wayne, basically thinking that they're brothers, that was really tense.
One of the last shots is Bruce standing over his parents' dead body as the camera's panning away down the alley. That's one of the best shots in the film. There's like a million that are that good, though. There's this whole new dimension to Batman now. His father, who he idolizes, is this perfect man. Like, the whole reason Batman is because he's trying to live up to this ideal that his father created. Well, it turns out his father was part of the problem. His father, quite directly, was involved in the creation of Joker, Batman's greatest villain. That's fucking beautiful. And that came from the man who created the Hangover series. The fact that he blew my mind in not just the filmmaking skill, but in his ability to create new elements and new dimensions within an established comic book universe. And he did an origin story. I hate origin stories.
Yeah, me too.
And it's my favorite comic book movie now.
Babe, there was a tweet from some checkmark that was like, all the nerds that shat on Captain Marvel are gonna go see Joker because penis.
That's why I saw it.
Oh.
God, I love penis. How would you rate this film?
9 out of 10. No, 9.5 out of 10. Good. Good ass film. See it. If you like disturbing, gritty movies that make you have a big think. Ooh.
Thinking scares the man.
We thunk too hard.
Yeah.
Okay, we did a big think. Yeah, I honestly recommend this to anybody. It was good. It's not a superhero movie, so if you're used to like the Captain Marvels and the Captain Americas and the Captain whatevers, probably skip it. This is a really good movie though. I loved it.
I think that this film actually serves as a litmus test to see if you've lost touch with humanity. If you can't relate with Joker and you can't empathize with him, then fuck you.
Okay.
The fact that there's reviewers that say that they don't understand how this mob was created or how the Joker could become who he was makes me wonder how like much money do you have that you can't even relate with people that have nowhere else to go.
Hey, I grew up in a pretty upper middle class house and I still related and empathized with.
And that's my point. One of the themes of the film is that there is poverty. They're in the ghetto.
Doesn't matter, he's white.
There's a garbage strike.
You don't understand.
There's a garbage strike. There's literally garbage in the background of every shot. There's giant rats running by.
There's giant rats running by.
In one of his therapy sessions, he says, "Is it just me or are things getting crazier out there?" And the therapist replies, "It certainly is tense." They're constantly building up throughout the film just how terrible the conditions are out there. The people are climbing over top of each other.
So, Heath Ledger's Joker, other Jokers, how would you compare this? Do you like it better than Heath Ledger's Joker? Because he was like the top. He was the Joker. And then when Jared Leto came around, everyone was just like, you'll never be Heath Ledger, so why try? Now it's like, you'll never be Joaquin
Do you remember when
Phoenix.
Heath Ledger was announced as the Joker? Everybody groaned, thinking it would be the worst thing ever.
It was
and it ended up
amazing.
being the best thing ever. I've learned not to try to compare Jokers too much because each Joker serves a different purpose. Like Caesar Romero.
Jared Leto's didn't, though. There was no purpose.
Jared Leto's Joker could be erased from my mind.
Honestly.
I don't give a fuck about that Joker.
God, and he was mad. He was mad that they gave this to Joaquin Phoenix and not him. Could you imagine if they gave this to him?
The fact that he said that shows that he has no business being Joker because he doesn't understand the character at all. I will go ahead and just declare that this is my favorite Joker, easily. And probably because I empathize for him, because they made him relatable, they made him the hero of the story.
See, that's the thing. I love Heath Ledger's Joker for like the crazy, scheming evil he is. Like he did a great job at that. And this Joker was more tragic villain.
But Heath Ledger's Joker is the Joker you don't know. That's the Joker I grew up with, is a Joker you don't know anything about, other than he's a psycho genius who keeps beating Batman. This Joker is good too, and I think that I like him better even.
I think so.
Maybe too, like he ended up defying all my expectations. I didn't want to see Joker's origin. I didn't want to see another comic book movie, and I ended up leaving more impressed and surprised than I think I ever have coming out of a movie theater, ever. I'm giving this film my very first 10 out of fucking 10.
Wow.
I almost gave it a 10/10 plus.
What?
Todd Phillips overdid it with that twist of the girlfriend.
Yeah, I think a 9 out of 10. It was really good.
All right. Freaking hipster. Nothing makes you happy.
It was good, but it wasn't like, I don't know.
Wipe that makeup off. It makes you look ridiculous.
Okay, we're done. We're done.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker? Send in the clowns.
And remember, that's life.